The film begins with a scene in which a woman named Melody is riding a snowmobile through a forest. At one point, she loses control and crashes, ending up with a branch lodged deep in her thigh. Determined to free herself, she notices a nearby house and heads toward it in search of help. Henry, a cautious man who lives in the house, arrives at the scene and carefully assesses the situation before deciding to assist her. He takes her inside so she can rest, and several hours later, he is seen sharpening various tools such as knives and scissors. It soon becomes clear that Henry intends to remove the wooden splinter that is still embedded in Melody's leg. The story then jumps back several months earlier, showing Henry shaving his beard. It's revealed that he is not an ordinary man, but a professional hitman who has successfully eliminated 99 targets in the past. His next victim is Kessler, a wealthy businessman who owns multiple companies. Henry closely follows Kessler, waiting for the right moment to act. Eventually, when the businessman enters a steam room, Henry seizes the opportunity and kills him without anyone noticing, thanks to the steam filling the room. With the mission accomplished, Henry calmly leaves the sauna and heads to the locker room, making it clear that he was there to collect payment for his deadly work. The following day, a convoy of cars heads to the local cemetery for Kessler's funeral. Detectives Kappa and his older partner, Davies, are assigned to investigate the case. They discuss how the murder appears to have been carried out by someone highly trained, since no clues were found at the scene except for Kessler's wristwatch. The bullets used in the crime were made of a special polymer designed to disintegrate after being fired, making it extremely difficult to find evidence. Later, detectives Kappa and Davies contact Brigler, a trusted associate of Kessler. Kappa asks whether Kessler had any enemies or competitors who might have wanted him dead. Brigler explains that as a successful businessman with large companies, Kessler had many rivals who could have had a motive to kill him. He also mentions that Kessler had a child named Charlie, his only heir. If anything were to happen to Charlie, all of Kessler's companies would be auctioned off separately, exactly what his business rivals wanted. Upon hearing this, Kappa asks about Charlie's whereabouts. Brigler replies that he has hidden Charlie in a safe place, fearing that the child might be the next target. After obtaining this information, Detective Kappa allows Brigler to leave. Meanwhile, Melody is shown in her apartment, silently packing her belongings. It turns out she has been under the watch of a bodyguard named Malcolm. In the early hours of the morning, Malcolm senses that something is wrong and enters her room, only to discover that she has escaped. Hours later, Melody arrives at a taxi stand and tells the driver her destination. Eventually, she reaches a snowmobile rental facility, where she explains that she wants to head toward the Pacific and needs a vehicle for the journey. At first, the owner hesitates to rent her a snowmobile, warning her that the trip is long and dangerous. However, when Melody offers him a large sum of money, more than enough to cover the rental, the man agrees. After a long journey, Melody stops to refuel. At that moment, a young man approaches her and offers her a place to spend the night, warning her that she will not find any accommodations on the next stretch of her trip. Without responding, Melody finishes refueling and continues on her way. The next day, the scene shows a house deep in the Pacific Forest, Henry's residence. At that moment, he is busy assembling weapons. Suddenly, he is startled by Melody's screams, bringing the story back to the opening scene of the film. He quickly runs to help her and with great care removes the branch from her thigh while she endures intense pain. Henry tells her to hold on. Meanwhile, detectives Kappa and Davies continue investigating the polymer bullets, which are designed to disintegrate and leave no trace. Detective Kappa speculates that the person who killed Kessler was likely a former soldier or a highly trained contract killer. Later, he orders one of his team members to trace Brigler's phone number, as they need to investigate anyone who was close to Kessler, including his trusted associate. At the same time, Davies receives news that he will be reassigned by order of his superiors, meaning he will no longer be able to continue investigating Kessler's murder. Although this saddens Kappa, he supports his colleague and wishes him the best. Meanwhile, Melody is surprised when Henry brings a deer into the house. He explains that he needs to protect it from the wolves roaming outside, ready to attack. This confuses Melody, as she did not expect Henry to be so compassionate. Grateful for his help and for treating her wounds, she tells him that she decided to venture into the wilderness after being confined to her apartment for a long time. Henry, for his part, asks her to start practicing walking, as he desires a quiet life without interruptions, including Melody's presence. The following morning, Henry returns to the place where Melody fell the previous day. As he inspects the area, he finds it strange that there were no obvious obstacles that could have caused her accident. However, he does not have much time to think about it, as he is soon startled by the presence of wolves attracted by the smell of Melody's blood. He quickly grabs his weapon, which unexpectedly scares the wolves away and causes them to retreat. Meanwhile, inside the house, Melody, feeling thirsty, tries to reach a glass of water on the table. Because her wound has not yet healed, she loses her balance and falls to the floor. Shortly afterward, Henry returns and finds her in pain on the ground. He realizes that there is still a wooden splinter lodged in her abdomen, so he carefully removes it. To help her endure the pain, he gives her some water and a piece of cotton to bite down on. Elsewhere, Detective Kappa continues to meticulously review Brigler's call records. After a detailed analysis, he finally notices that Brigler had a brief 5-second phone call with someone named Malcolm. This raises his suspicions and his curiosity about who Malcolm really is. Meanwhile, Malcolm arrives at the snowmobile rental shop looking for Melody. He shows a photo of her to the owner and asks if he has seen her. At first, the man remains silent, but after receiving some money, he reveals that Melody headed toward the Pacific. He also mentions that all rental vehicles are equipped with GPS devices. However, unfortunately, the GPS on Melody's snowmobile had been disabled. Upon hearing this, Malcolm quickly rents a snowmobile and sets off in pursuit of her. For her part, Melody, who is slowly recovering from her injuries, begins to feel curious about Henry's solitary life in the forest. She asks him why he decided to live in isolation, to which he replies that he is tired of the hustle and bustle of the city and prefers the tranquility of the forest to live a peaceful life. As they talk, Melody shares more details about herself in an attempt to create a connection with Henry. Meanwhile, Detective Kappa visits Kessler's ex-wife at a hospital to obtain information about him and the people close to him. However, the woman, who has been separated from Kessler for a long time and suffers from dementia, is unable to provide much information. Before leaving, Kappa offers her Kessler's wristwatch, thinking it might serve as a keepsake for his son Charlie. However, the woman clarifies that Charlie is actually a girl. This revelation surprises the detective, who until that moment had assumed that Charlie was a boy. That night, Malcolm becomes trapped in a snowstorm and seeks shelter at the last inn on his way to the Pacific. He orders a drink to warm himself from the intense cold outside. Meanwhile, Henry tends to Melody's sprained hand, which she injured during her fall the previous day. Intrigued by Henry's skill in treating wounds, Melody asks him how he learned so much. Henry explains that living alone in the forest forced him to be self-sufficient and to learn many things on his own. The next day, while Henry is away, Melody assembles a pistol, revealing her true intention: to take revenge on him. She had trained in martial arts and marksmanship to carry out her mission. Without hesitation, she confronts him while he is fishing in the river and shoots him in the head. However, everything turns out to be a trap, as Henry had anticipated her actions. Shortly afterward, he overpowers her and begins interrogating her to discover her identity and the reason she wanted to kill him. At first, Melody remains silent, but unable to withstand the pressure, she finally confesses. She is Kessler's biological daughter and seeks to avenge his death. Henry is stunned by the revelation, as he had always believed that Kessler's biological child was a boy named Charlie. In reality, Charlie was Melody. The entire plan had been orchestrated by Brigler, Kessler's former trusted associate, who had manipulated Melody into carrying it out. Moved by her story, Henry decides to let her go. Hours later, in the middle of the snowstorm, Melody quietly sneaks out to activate a GPS transmitter she had hidden under the snow, but Henry has already disabled it, forcing her to return to the cabin. It is then that Henry reveals that his contract did not only include eliminating Kessler's child, but that he had also been assured that the child was a boy. According to his client, both Kessler and his descendant were skilled survivalists, which is why Henry accepted the job. Intrigued, Melody asks who actually hired him, and Henry replies that it was Brigler and that he still has his phone number. Melody explains that her father had always wanted a son, which is why her family called her Charlie. Meanwhile, Detective Kappa attempts to contact Brigler, but his calls go unanswered. further increasing his suspicions that Brigler is the true mastermind behind everything and that he plans to keep Kessler's entire fortune for himself. The next morning, Malcolm is still trapped at the inn due to the storm. He receives a message with a map from an unknown number, and when he opens it, he realizes it is Detective Kappa attempting to track his location. Kappa manages to hack his phone and alerts a colleague working nearby to help locate him. Shortly afterward, Malcolm resumes his journey. As night falls, Henry's cabin is in disarray due to the storm. Suddenly, the silence is broken by gunshots. It is Malcolm who has not come to rescue Melody, but to kill both her and Henry on Brigler's orders. However, his attack fails when Henry pursues him and after a confrontation, kills him with a knife. The following morning, detectives Kappa and Davies arrive in the area and see Melody's snowmobile on the side of the road. Meanwhile, when Melody sees Henry holding a knife, she becomes frightened, thinking he intends to harm her, when in reality he is merely scaring away a wolf. Seizing the opportunity, Melody strikes him and flees, but an enraged Henry fires a warning shot. The sound alerts the detectives, who upon witnessing the scene misinterpret the situation and shoot Henry, believing he is a threat to Melody. As more police arrive, Melody enters the cabin to look for something. She appears distressed, reflecting on the kindness Henry showed her despite everything. Finally, she comes outside and hands the police Brigler's phone number she obtained thanks to Henry. In the end, Melody becomes the sole heir to her father Kessler's fortune. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more movie breakdowns and recaps.